Welcome to Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation possible. You will get to hear from CSIA system integrators and industry partners to get a better understanding of how they help their clients solve process challenges and how they've earned success in their careers. Along the way, we will touch on system integration best practices, technology, trends, and challenges. Whether you are a manufacturer, end user, supplier, or system integrator, you will enjoy the insights these industry professionals bring to this podcast. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Lisa Richter, the host of Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation and processing possible. In today's episode, we're talking industrial automation with Sam Cafferata, who is Principal Engineer and Controls Group Team Leader for Concept Systems. Did I pronounce that okay?
You did fine. Thank you.
Okay. Sam is a passionate controls system integrator with more than 25 years of industrial automation experience, 15 years of those with Concept. He has specific experience in recycling, food processing, bulk material handling, wood products, aerospace, and plastics. But his favorite part of his job is helping his team and partnering with his customers to have fun and succeed. Sam, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you.
Let's start with an easy one. How do you describe to lay people what you do?
Oh, that's not such an easy question, but we can certainly talk about it. So if I think about it, what we do is we help people find solutions. So anything that you want to do a lot of in a repetitious way, that is where we would get involved. One thing we do not do is we're not in the game of eliminating people. So that's kind of a myth is controls engineers eliminate jobs, but really we create lots and lots of jobs.
Do you specialize in any industry, product, or discipline? Why or why not?
So that's a yes and no answer. So really both. So really we apply automation principles to just about any industry, but if you want to talk about whether or not we specialize in industries, I have numerous engineers on my team with many years of experience in different industries. So if I can line them up with that, that's a much better solution. And really that's more from an understanding perspective, not so much the technology, but every industry has its own language, its own lingo, and its own understanding. So if I can bring those two together, that's where I have the greatest success.
Do I detect a little bit of a Canadian accent?
Nope.
Okay. Maybe it's an Oregon thing.
Yeah, it's probably West Coast.
What challenges are your customers facing now?
Oh, customers are really suffering right now. Big challenges right now are labor shortages, getting people to come to work. The supply chain is just destroyed right now, so they can't get materials, they can't get machinery. There's another big one, and that's is keeping your equipment running. So now something breaks down. If you don't have it on the shelf, you could easily be down 3 months waiting for a part. So that is significantly changing how plants are operating.
So what does disaster recovery mean in terms of a control system?
So that's a great question. And it's really looking at your machinery from the perspective. If it breaks down, what is the plan? Do you have a plan? There's a whole series. If it's provided by an OEM, do you have backups of all the programs? Do you have a way of, just like your computer, say your computer goes down, what do? Do you have a plan? Do you have all your information backed up? Do you have a spare? All of those things come into disaster recovery. So it's really having a plan and being ready to execute it so that it's not a complete all out disaster.
What's unique about how you approach a project?
So that's a good question. At Concept, we have a project methodology that really helps drive our projects. It's 13 steps, starts from the proposal all the way through to end customer support. The big piece with that is it really drives alignment between the customer and Concept. So that the piece there is all the way from the beginning of the project, right? So if you think of a project, an automation project, it's not just programming. It's really the planning and the execution of that entire process. So there's no surprises anywhere along the way from acceptance of the PO all the way through to the startup of the machinery. There should be no reason for any questions.
So looking a little bit more at that timelines, what would you say is the best time for a system integrator to get involved with a project?
Early. Very, very early in the project.
Like voting in Chicago.
Yeah. The sooner we can help, the better, right? And the more money I can save you, Right. So if you're looking at a project, like I was saying earlier, a project is a lot more than just the programming, right? There's the whole organizational piece. There's the whole planning piece. Say you have multiple vendors coming together. If I can help organize that up front, you could have a nice cohesive control system so everything talks together rather than a whole bunch of separate systems that are kind of band-aided together. So any of those pieces, that if you want it to be smooth and clean, right, really start early.
Do you have a favorite project? I mean, is it sort of like picking a favorite child? You can't really do that. Maybe, maybe you can. One of your favorites?
I guess I have lots of favorites, but what I would define more about the project being a favorite is the people. So if I have customers that are really interested in what they're doing and really care about what they're doing, then it's going to be really fun. You can take the funnest topic, but if the people there aren't really into it, I don't like to work with anybody that is just a job. Right. So if I'm working with people that really care and are excited about what they're doing, then I'm all in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hi, guys. I need to tell you about our new sponsor, Xometry. Xometry is where engineers turn for on-demand manufacturing with guaranteed quality, consistently low prices, and fast lead times on custom parts. Xometry creates prototypes and production parts for every industry, from aerospace to medical to automotive. Xometry has 13 plus manufacturing capabilities, including CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, injection molding, and urethane casting. Plus, it has over 200 materials and 50 plus finishes through its global network of over 5,000 manufacturing facilities. To upload your file and get an instant digital quote, visit Xometry.com. That's Xometry.com today. Xometry works with all creators, from startups to Fortune 100 companies, and can make anything from a single prototype to millions of parts. And that's not all. Xometry is ITAR registered and ISO 9001-2015 and AS9100D certified. Why not take a minute to go check it out? I think you'll find it pretty interesting. What advice would you give to a prospective customer researching automation/controls engineers or system integrators?
So that's a good question. Advice I would give is think about what you're doing. Think about it more as a whole, not just as a programming piece or just as a panel part. Think about what you're doing and find somebody you can work with that will help you throughout the entire project. Right. So really think about the project.
How should a customer go about choosing a system integrator?
Oh, that's another good question. Find someone that you can really work with, right? But also look at what they do, where they've been, and how long they've been around. The main thing, right, is you don't want Fred in the shed. You want someone you can call on, someone that can help you, someone that has a team that can support you. So I think that's a really big deal.
I think I'd like to meet Fred in the shed.
Yes.
He's probably got a couple of cats.
Yeah, well, Fred in the shed, he can be, sometimes it'll look like a very good deal, very cost effective, low overhead. But when push comes to shove, Fred in the shed is just Fred in the shed. And tomorrow his shed may be gone.
What makes a good automation project and customer?
Oh, that's a fun one. So like I was saying before, I really like projects where people care, right? So if you have a stakeholder that's really interested in the project or driving the project, that's a great start. But a good automation project is, could really be anything, but from a manufacturing perspective, something that they want to make a lot of, something they need to do many times repetitively. Those are things we can do very well, and really almost doesn't matter what.
What kinds of trends and challenges are you seeing in industrial automation right now?
Back to the shortages, right? Not enough people. And really that comes from all areas. But in the manufacturing world, there's a real labor shortage of people coming to work. And that's causing a tremendous demand from the control side, right? Trying to help automate that. Not so much eliminate jobs, but find ways to use the people you have better. And with that, there's a shortage of controls engineers also.
What does it mean when a control system is obsolete, and what should be done about it?
So that's a very good question. So a control system being obsolete is really about what happens if it breaks down, right? Can you get the parts anymore? The world of computers, the world of automation is changing at a very high pace. And 5 or 10 years may be all you get out of it. Sure, it may still be working, but do you have, back to that disaster recovery, do you have a plan? What happens if it does go down? I had a customer 2 weeks ago, they had an old drive go down. and looked at him and says, well, here's the deal, right? We got it up and running. So that part was good. But you could have been down for 3 months. Let's have a plan. Let's think about this. Let's go through your machine, talk about what parts are available, what are not available, and make a plan.
So Concept is a CSA certified control system integrator. When someone asks, why should I hire CSIA certified? What would you tell them?
Oh, that's a good point. So back to your question on selecting an integrator. So the CSIA, what that's really saying is you're a qualified integrator. So they come in, it's not a simple task, but they come in, they go through all our business practices. They look at what we're about, what we stand for, and how we do it. And certification means that you're going to be getting a qualified integrator, and you're going to be getting somebody that's around for the long, right? So they're doing everything right. They've got all your stuff backed up. So if you have a problem 3 years from now, you can call them up, say, hey, I need some help, and they're going to be able to help you. So I think it's a pretty big deal.
I know it is a lot of work, and I'm always very proud of any of the companies that manage to get through the process. Switching gears a little, let's talk a little bit more about you. I know you love what you do, but if we could clone you, what occupation would clone Sam have?
So am I allowed to say the same? Or is this if I had to choose a different path?
I'd say if you had to choose a different path.
Well, I love automation and I love people. So maybe a sales role in the automation would be okay.
You don't hear too many engineers say that.
Well, I like helping. And I think there's a lot to be gained in that space.
I know this is an audio format, but I am looking at you via video and I noticed a bunch of equipment in the background. Is that audio equipment you have back there?
Oh, yeah. I have a vintage reel-to-reel recorder in the background and some speakers and amplifier. And
what do you do?
I have handprints of my grandchildren there also.
What do you do with that equipment?
All controls people play with toys. So, the reel-to-reel, I grew up with those and really liked them. So I still, just the sound you get from them.
Do you have a record player? Those are kind of making a comeback now.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Certainly record players. I have some pretty cool tube amplifiers. So, yeah, all kinds of fun toys.
Any actual albums you have, like any Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd? I'm thinking of Pink Floyd might be your groove.
Certainly, that's a good one. My wife is a big fan. I'm more maybe a little bit more electronic music and a good bass beat.
Yeah. So last question. If you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
Interesting. Probably don't be afraid to go for it and just understand that if you're in the controls world, everyone in the controls world gives up a chunk of their life for this business. And that's just the way it goes. It's going to become part of who you are.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Talking Industrial Automation. If you are interested in learning more about SAM or Concept Systems, you can find them on the Industrial Automation Exchange at www.exchange.com. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Sam, for joining me today.
Oh, very good. Thanks for the opportunity. Have a super afternoon.
So that's it.
If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also help others find us by leaving a 5-star review and sharing your favorite episodes with colleagues. Thanks for listening to the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. Thanks also to bensound.com and Wistia for the music bumpers. Until next time.